Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wakeangel2K1, because between you and me, they're way past cool.
Hello my friends, this is Wakeangel2K1 coming at you with my continuation of the Sonic Saturday Morning toy line that I did not get when I was 8 years old because it didn't exist, with Antoine D'Cooliette. But first, real quick, I just wanted to show off this little keychain that I made. It is a gift from my cousin Raven, who, as you know, is a huge fan of Rouge the Bat, and was actually the first person to receive a Rouge made from the 3D printed, my first 3D printed figure of Rouge the Bat, which I made back in the day. I have since refined the formula, but she was the one who got the first, and I made this little keychain for her because she mentioned that the little tiny ornament one that I made for her out of clay several years ago, well, over a decade ago really, kind of broke. So I said, hey, you know what? I got a 3D printer now. I'll make a more durable one. She uses the same basic minifigure book that Princess Sally used, except that I added a heart piece to the chest to give her some cleavage, and I added some ears so that they would actually be part of the model itself and thus less prone to snapping off. It's also significantly bigger, like it's almost a full 2 inches tall instead of the 1 inch tall that my minifigures usually are, and I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there because it is a cute little thing. Okay, so now we're on to the actual proper custom of Antoine D'Cooliette. Now, in the original cartoon, when I was a kid, I really couldn't see much past this character other than the fact that he was the comic relief. You know, because, like, he was always scared and trembling, and, like, he was always making a fool of himself in front of Bunny and Sally, and he always resented Sonic because Sally liked him instead of him. So, you know, like, this is just, like, he always just kind of seemed like the comic foil. But when I rewatched the series again in my adult years, I actually realized that Antoine was a surprisingly deep character. I mean, yes, he was always scared and hated going on the missions, but when you think about it, he still went on those missions. This guy was a lot braver than anybody ever gave him credit for. I mean, he didn't have any powers, he didn't have any super speed or cybernetic limbs, and he didn't even really have any particular tactical skills. Like, he was supposed to be a knight, but since Dr. Robotnik took over before he had a chance to hit puberty, he never really had any official training. So, although he would become a powerful swordsman in the comic book, that would be years later. So, like, he's there solely because he knew that there was nobody else who would be. And he would never allow his princess and a maiden, like, Bunny, I'm gonna count her as a maiden in this context, to go off on dangerous guerrilla missions in the enemy territory alone. So even if all he could do was watch their six, like, he was there. So, I have a lot of respect for this guy. Anyway, let's go ahead and make the toy for him. We are going back to loyal subjects for the base figure. In fact, here's a little set that I bought from Five Below. I got some characters from Agretzko, an anime on Netflix. Agretzko is a great show. It's basically it's made by the Sanrio Animation Company, the same people that made Hello Kitty, and it's essentially How to Be an Adult, the anime. I know I might be dating myself, but if anybody can remember the Dilbert cartoon from the turn of the millennium, it's kind of like a cartoon animal version of Dilbert, except actually a good show. No, I like Garrett. It's not that Dilbert was a particularly bad show. I'm just saying that Regrets goes better. So yeah, why don't you have some fun and try and figure out what I'm going to do with each one of these figures. The first one is Ukami, the fox guy, who is going to be the subject of this video. So, first and foremost, let us thank Corey SonicFan22 once again for making the model of Antoine D'Cooliette's head. I actually really, it's actually really amazing he was able to do this because, he's basically converting a 2D image into a 3D image, and the animation models never really assume that it's a physical shape. So I just want to give him a whole ton of credit for actually making this work. Like Corey Sonic Fan, you are an amazing 3D modeler, and I really appreciate you. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you are unappreciated, because you are awesome. And the modifications to the body itself are actually pretty interesting, because in some ways they're really light, but in other ways not so much. So first, let's dismantle the figure, and check out the size of that ball joint. Like, I had no idea that Ukami had such a gigantic ball inside of his head. It is easily twice the size of what I would find as a typical ball joint for the head in one of these Loyal Subjects figures. So of course there's no way I'm going to be able to drill enough material out of Antoine's head to stick this thing in there, so I had to cut it off. This actually worked to my benefit, however, because it allowed me to make Antoine's little turtleneck on the remainder of the neck stump that was left over. Of course, I would need something to provide some neck friction, so I used this stem from a Mega Constructs kit to basically be the peg that I would put the head onto later. I also used a little bit of craft foam to make the accoutrements of his little uniform shirt, mostly the borders around it and his little shoulder pads. This is actually the first time I'm actually able to make an Antoine with the shoulder pads, because in this 4-inch scale there's actually room for them. You may recall every other Antoine figure I've made in the Jazzwares scale simply had no space for these, because the cheek tufts pretty much touched the shoulders and there was no room. Yes, so a quick little paint job later. You may notice that Antoine has a tail. Thing is, I don't think Antoine had a tail in the original cartoon. I might be wrong about this, because I couldn't exactly, my DVD player is not hooked up to the TV, and I didn't want to have to dig it out, just to verify this. But I'm pretty sure in the original cartoon he didn't have a tail, even though he did in the comic book. So I compromised by giving him a little tail sticking out back there. Because, honestly, I can't remember, and I didn't exactly want to put into my Google search history Antoine D'Cooliette's butt. I just didn't want people to think that I'm looking for that kind of thing. Imagine the targeted ads. Oh, who am I kidding? Okay, let's see. Oh yes, his shoes. When reassembled, I found that this figure was actually significantly shorter because of the way the shoes were, so I used some craft foam to basically make him into platforms, and then epoxy to sculpt and make him look like he just has bigger boots. This actually makes him the same height as Sally and Bunny, and able to look them in the face. So yeah, I guess that's it. That's everything that's going on. So let's take a look at the completed Antoine D'Cooliette, and here he goes. Since he didn't marry Bunny in the cartoon, that wouldn't come until way later in the comic book series, there is no wedding ring, and he doesn't have a sword either, because he never actually used a sword in the cartoon either. That's also something he didn't get to do until the comic book. But, our favorite little, surprisingly brave little fraidy cat is able to join the crew. Seen here next to Sally and Bunny, everything works scale-wise, and he also matches them in posability for the most part. I wish that they sculpted the knees better, because they barely bend 45 degrees, while Sally and Bunny have deeper knee bends, but, c'est la vie. Oh, one more bit of trivia. Out of the original core 4 freedom fighters that were introduced in this cartoon, Sally, Bunny, Rotor, and Antoine, Antoine's the only one that didn't get the cameo in Sonic Spinball. Like in the special stage when you had to break the capsules to free everybody. Like you had Princess Sally, even though it was the still the pink color scheme from the pilot, and Bunny and Rotor were in 2 of the other capsules, but Antoine wasn't in any of them. So I don't know. He's the only one that didn't have a cameo in the video game. Was he afraid or something? I don't know. But still, like, despite the fact that he is the only one who never actually got to appear in a video game, even as a cameo, I still find myself really respecting his character a lot more rewatching the series as an adult. If you haven't watched the Sonic Saturday Morning cartoon in a while, I would recommend you watch it, knowing what you do now, because an entirely different light is painted on Antoine, knowing what we know he does in the comic book later on. So this is Wakeangel 2001, hoping you all enjoyed the video, and signing off.